Hello guys, welcome back. So this is Forex forecast for the week starting August 25th to August 29th. That's Monday to Friday. August 25th, Monday to Friday, August 29th, 2025. So as you already know the drill, we're going to start with the dollar index. So last week I forecasted that we were going to have a bearish movement on price on the dollar index, and this is exactly what price did, although this didn't happen until Friday, but it happened. So this whole price movement, Monday to Thursday, we had some bullish movement on the dollar index, but eventually, since we have a draw on liquidity on the downside here, we saw price closing slightly below where it closed last week. So this week, I'm still bearish on the dollar index. I'm not going to talk more about this fair value gap. You can extend this to your left and see what's there on price. And then for this fair value gap, if you are watching my videos constantly, you'll see what I talked about this fair value gap the previous weeks on my videos, right? A fair value gap is when we have three candles and then a gap between the three candles. For example, we have candles 1 here, candles 2, and then candles 3 here, and then between this first candle and this third candle we have a gap. That's what we call fair value gap. In any case where we trade below the fair value gap, for coming back, the fair value gap acts as resistance. If not, usually it acts as support, or real support or real resistance. In this case, for those of you who are just joining this channel or watching my videos for the first time, I'll just go a bit over this very fair value gap here, and then we'll move on to the next, right? So candles 1, candles 2, candles 3, and we have a gap on the second candle, which means there are no wicks overlapping. The wick of candle 1 and the wicks of candle 3 are not overlapping. So that simply gives us a gap, and we highlight this, annotate it, extend it to the right. We saw price respecting that before moving down to the downside. So this week I am expecting price to continue moving to the downside until we read this sell side and eventually here. It might take a couple of weeks before we get here, but this is the ultimate goal. But here first, this is very low. Alright, so let's go to our daily time frame on the dollar index. So daily time frame on the dollar index. So on the weekly time frame, remember, we're bearish. Here's what happened between Mondays to Friday. Monday we're bullish, Tuesday bullish, Wednesday a bit bearish, and then Thursday bullish, and then Friday we finally saw price give up the ghost, and then we saw downward movement, which was what we actually predicted before the week opened. So on the daily time frame, we have another fair value gap here, right? Let me quickly highlight that. A fair value gap here. And then we saw price trading into it and then coming to the downside. So this week I'm expecting price to open, move up a bit, and then continue to the downside. On the daily time frame, take out this low and eventually this low. Right. So let's move to euro dollar weekly time frame. Last week, like we said we were expecting higher prices on euro, and this is what happened. And just like the dollar index, we didn't see this movement until Friday, but eventually it happened. This week I'm still expecting price to open, drop down a bit, and then move to the upside to target this buy side here, this little high, and then eventually this buy side liquidity. On our daily time frame, nothing much here to see, just a bit of consolidation, sideways movement, and then price going up. Now once we have price closing above a fair value gap, look, we have a fair value gap here, candles 1, candles 2, candles 3, right? Price coming back was supposed to respect that. Let me quickly annotate this, right? I'll extend that to the right. So once we are seeing price coming this way, I love labeling my charts, so I'll call this fair value gap. D is for the daily time frame, right? Okay, good. Green for daily. So whenever we have price like this, fair value gap was supposed to respect this, and then price will move back to the downside if we are bearish. If order flow is bearish, we're supposed to see price respecting this fair value gap. The wicks of the candles can overlap the fair value gap, but we do not want to see price closing above a fair value gap on a daily time frame like this. Once we see that, like we've seen here, it confirms our higher time frame bias. Remember, on a weekly time frame we are bullish on euro dollar. So since we've closed above this fair value gap, price closed outside this rectangle, which annotates this fair value gap, it simply means we are going to see higher price movements. So even if we are going to see price coming back into this fair value gap, the fair value gap has automatically turned to an inverted fair value gap, an inversion, right? Like on the flip side of the fair value gap, which means once price closing, if we're coming back into this, the fair value gap will be acting as support, right? So whatever makes price come into this gap, it will be acting as support. Support for what? Support for price to rally up, take out this high, which are relative equal highs, and then eventually this one. I extend this. So let's move to the next, which is dollar index. So for our weekly time frame, dollar index, remember last week I said I'm bearish on USDCAD, not dollar index. Last week I said I'm bearish on USDCAD, right? That there is a order block here, right? Even if we close at the midpoint of the order block, there's nothing wrong with that. So what happened? We saw price moving in, trading into this little fair value gap here. Candles 1, 2, 3. There's a little gap here. We saw price trading into it. Let me quickly remove this. This is I'll quickly annotate this a little so that you see clearly. Right? We saw price trading into it, a fair value gap, on a weekly time frame, and then rejecting from that point. Right? Now, some of you might argue, but the price went above the fair value gap. Let me zoom in properly. Price went above the fair value gap. The truth is, when we trade into a fair value gap, it is permissible for the wicks to trade through the gap, right? But it is not acceptable for price to close above the gap. If price had closed above this gap, then I'll likely come back here and redo or reevaluate my analysis, because at that point I might be likely looking for higher price. But since we didn't close above it, in fact we rejected and closed away totally from the fair value gap, it simply means you are still bearish on a weekly time frame. So let's go to our daily time frame. Zoom out a bit. For our daily time frame, this is what I just annotated for the weekly. I'll remove that. For our daily time frame, we'll be looking for order flow that will support our bearish movement for the weekly time frame. So we have a fair value gap here. Candles 1, candles 2, candles 3. We saw price rallied, got to this point, didn't trade quite into it, came back down, and then at this point we trade properly into the fair value gap. We didn't close outside the fair value gap, but the wicks, traded outside, but the bodies were staying right inside the fair value gap. And then we saw price on Friday moving away from the fair value gap, trading nicely outside of it. And then there's a little piece of information here that is quite very useful, right? to confirm that we are truly on the bearish movement on the daily time frame, look closely. I won't say anything here. Look at this fair value gap. 1, 2, 3. What do you see? You can pause this video to see if you're actually learning. What do you see? Alright, so I will annotate what I see. Here's the fair value gap. Let me extend this to the right. Zoom in properly. Okay, I think I got that right. So now this is another fair value gap, right? On a daily time frame, of course. Now, if you zoom in closely, you will find out that price has closed below this fair value gap on the daily time frame. This has given us this confirmation that price is actually bearish. So next week I would like to see more price coming downwards, close maybe even more, or price opening trading into this fair value gap, which we can now call an inverted fair value gap. An inverted fair value gap. Why inverted? Because we've closed below it. So the fair value gap will now be acting as resistance, right? So once we trade into it with wicks or body, and then we'll be expecting price to reject from it back to the downside. I would not want to see price with daily bodies closing above this fair value gap now, right? Because we're bearish. So for USDCAD, I'm quite bearish for this very week. Quite bearish for this very week. So I'll like to see price come to the downside, take out this low, and eventually, ultimately, these relative equal lows we have here. Might take a couple of weeks, but that's what I would like to see happen. So for GBPUSD, alright, so I'll check out the weekly time frame first. Alright, so the weekly time frame, remember last week I said I was bullish on GBPUSD. We have fair value gap here, 1, 2, 3, surprise trading back into it, rejecting from it. Okay, and addition has come up. We have another fair value gap, 1, candles 2, candles 3. Here's the fair value gap. We saw price coming into it, rejecting from it, and then we saw price coming into it again for the second time. But the bodies of the candle did not close outside this fair value gap, and then we saw price going back up. And then I remember telling you that ultimately I would like to see price reading this high. But first, I would love to see price reading this high before this one eventually. So last week I told you I'm bullish on pound dollar. We saw price come to the downside, and then on Friday we saw a strong reject onto the upside. We closed slightly bearish, but the rejection showed us that we are quite bullish on pound dollar. So let's check out our daily time frame for pound dollar, and to confirm our bullish structures for the pound dollar, here's the weekly fair value gap we saw, right? And then we have a daily fair value gap here. We didn't respect that, we broke it. This is how to know whether you're on side on your order flow. We broke it, came back to it, acted as inverted fair value gap, we went away from it, and then came back to it again, inverted fair value gap on the daily time frame. Now this fair value gap, which has turned an inverted fair value gap, is acting as real support. So on Friday, on Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we were some bearish movements, probably targeting this inverted fair value gap. And then on Friday we saw price with displacement, speed and distance traveling away from the inverted fair value gap. So this week, still on the daily time frame, I'd like to see price read this high, this relative equal highs, and then eventually crawling up to this path. Might not give us this very high this week, it's possible, but generally I want to see higher price movements on GBPUSD. So I think that's all we have for this week. If you have any pair you want me to talk about in terms of analysis for next week, please drop it in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, to like this video, and to share this video so that others can benefit from this as well. Until I talk to you next time, I wish you good luck and good trading.